And we are rolling. Time for another episode of Cash's Top 5. Joining me tonight, very special guest, Scotty McCreery. What's up, man?
What's going on, Kash? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We've had you for a couple of concerts, and I've seen you kind of off and on throughout the years. And I spent 1 year exactly in Pensacola, and I got to see two concerts, and one of them was you there at the Sanger Theater during Mardi Gras. So that was a ton of fun. So it's good to see you again, man.
Good to see you as well, man. Yeah, that was a fun show. I remember that one. Pensacola's always been a good spot to go visit. So
it's a good time. Yeah. Well, we're doing a fun one today. I know you are, just like myself, a huge football fan. So we today are going to rank our top 5 NFL players of all time, our 5 favorites, not necessarily the best, our favorite players of all time. Now, as an Indianapolis Colts fan, I want everybody to know that I'm still a huge Scotty McCreery fan, even though the Patriots love runs deep. Even though you're a Carolina boy, I understand Pops is from the region, so you grew up a Pats fan.
Yeah, he kind of instilled that in me early on. I never really had a choice. So, I mean, I was rooting for Bledsoe when I was a little toddler. And, when he scored, I was hyped. And then was blessed with the GOAT's career to follow as well. So
that's very tough last 20 years for a Patriots fan for sure. Well, let's jump into it, man. Our top 5 favorite NFL players of all time. Scotty, who do you got at number 5?
Who do I have at number 5? Number 5, I'll go ahead and throw it out there too. It's probably for my 5 a little bit of the recency bias. I know there was a lot of the greats that kind of came before my time, but I've only been on planet Earth since '93, so I've only had a little bit of time. Sure. Number 5. Why don't I go? I'm going to start off with Randy Moss. I mean, he only played 2 years with the Pats, but
those are two amazing years.
For that. Yeah, they were amazing. And 1 year he set the single season record that he still holds, I believe, for touchdowns by a wide receiver. One more than Jerry Rice had in one of his single seasons. But I just think even before he was a Pat, he was crushing it with the Vikings. You got Moss is everybody uses that phrase even still today. So he obviously made an impact. So yeah.
Well, he had some incredible plays throughout his career. Have you seen the documentary? I think it might have been a 30 for 30, Rand University. Did you ever see that?
I have not. I probably need to check it.
You want to check it out. It's kind of like a deep dive into where he grew up, the boys he grew up with playing. And it's just a real look into his upbringing and the area, in the South where he's from, and just kind of a cool perspective. He's a real down-to-earth guy despite being kind of a bigger-than-life athlete. Getting Mossed, I look forward to every Monday night on ESPN for football, but he's got to learn to stop yelling into the microphone. He's always talking like that. I'm like, you got to calm down, bro.
He does do a lot of the yelling, but it's normally like a very hype play he's yelling about. But I agree.
It's true. He is bringing the energy up. Strong number 5, Randy Moss. I toyed around with the idea of having him, but I was pretty locked in for at least 3 or 4 of mine, and I just, he didn't quite make the cut. Probably an honorable mention for me. My number 5 for you probably covered Moss quite a few times in his career. And this is probably a jersey pick because this was probably the coolest jersey you could have had when we were kids, is Charles Woodson at number 5.
Ah, wow. Absolutely. I hear you, man.
Number 24 in the silver and black for the Raiders. Now, I'm a huge Colts fan, like we said, but my NFC team, ever since I was a little kid, huge Packers fan. I love Green Bay. So when Woodson was able to come over, kind of be the elder statesman and, got to win the Super Bowl in 2010, huge fan of. And he did take the Heisman away from Peyton. I kind of held that against him a little bit.
I forgot about that. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going back a little bit, but still huge fan of Charles Woodson.
Yeah, you never liked when he was covering your guys. He played forever too. I felt like he played for so long. Yeah,
and was good for forever too. He wasn't just hanging on; he was still good.
No, he wasn't bringing down it. Yeah, he wasn't bringing it down at all. He was always crushing it. So, love that.
Well, Randy Moss at number 5. Who do you got at number 4?
Number 4 for me, I think, kind of sticking with the defensive thing. You're going there, and again the recency thing. But Ray Lewis was a guy that I never looked forward to the Pats having on the other side of the ball after Brady. I mean, it was anytime he was on the other side. He's calling the shots. He can't get anything by him. I think he has first or second most takeaways from a linebacker since the merger and everything back in the day. So
Yeah.
he's a stud you didn't want to play against for sure.
No, he's one of those classic players that you absolutely hate his guts unless he's on your team, and then you love him.
Dude, I constantly hated him all the time, but it wasn't for a lack of respect of how good he was. It was just because he was so good, and he was always hitting my guys. I didn't appreciate it.
Well, and when we're talking about iconic players, the dance out of the tunnel, his little shimmy that he would do when the fire's going off, like nobody did it better than Ray when it came to that, for sure.
It would get it pretty hyped pretty quick. Absolutely.
Yeah. There might be some recency bias there, but I don't know, man. Even because you can talk to me about Lawrence Taylor. We didn't grow up.
Like LT, I just never, like, I remember when LaDainian Tomlinson was playing, and I was calling him LT when I was watching him, and my dad was always like, "Oh, he ain't the LT,"
Right.
But I never saw him, but everybody always talks about, LT being just absolute stud.
I don't know. I still watching just the tape, Ray Lewis, when you like the overall, like LT could come and just end your career, obviously, Joe Theismann. Yeah. But Lewis played another one, played a really long time for the position he played and was high level. I think he's the best middle linebacker of all time. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with you there. He wreaked havoc on a lot of different teams, a lot of different quarterbacks. And like I said, I didn't like it when it got close to Brady. But hey.
Yeah, same. My number 4 for you is, I know you're a little younger than me, but I still feel like you got plenty of time watching this guy because he was an old dog out there playing until the bitter end. But he made football so much fun watching it, and that's number 4 for the Packers, Brett Favre. I mean,
that's where you're gonna go. Yeah.
The gunslinger, man. He looked every game. It's the NFL, and it looks like it could be a backyard game with him just running around, sidearms, no look. Before Mahomes became the king of the trick toss, Favre was out there doing all kinds of random crap, and just so much fun to watch.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. So much fun to watch, and it was like he didn't have a care in the world. If he's got a chance for the deep ball, he is chucking it. And so yeah,
triple coverage, he doesn't care. It's going.
He is firing it in there. Yeah, but I mean, sure, he had a lot of interceptions, but he had a crap ton of touchdowns as well and amazing plays, and that's what I remember is the Favre of old, just absolutely out there slinging it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Who do you got at number 3?
Number 3, you're probably going to have an opinion on this one. I think he is the second greatest quarterback of all time, and a guy that managed the game better than anybody else. He's got an infatuation with the city of Omaha. Gonna have to go with Peyton Manning.
Really? I cannot believe that he ranks that highly for you, being a Pats fan as much as you are.
Dude, I tell you, I mean, the thing is, you always look forward to the Brady-Manning matchup. I mean, you knew you're watching 2 of the best to ever do it. In my opinion, the 2 best quarterbacks to ever do it. And yeah, I mean, nobody liked playing Peyton. I mean, he's audible and you can't fool him. There's no defense you can throw out there that's going to fool the guy. He's seen every look. He can make any play. So he could have maybe been a little higher on the list if he could throw a better spiral. We just needed the spiral to be a little tighter.
Quack, quack, quack. Yeah, a couple ducks out there.
Even after the Colts, when he went to Denver and wins the Super Bowl there, and I got to go see him in the AFC Championship in Denver, and he beat Brady that year. So that was it's tough for me to watch, but I was with my drummer, who is has the Broncos old school tattoo like on his shoulder.
Oh wow!
So it was that was a fun game to watch.
Well, you know what, dude, I respect that pick because there's a lot of people on the Pats side say it's not really a rivalry because the Colts lost so damn much, but to put the respect on Peyton's name, even though he was a rival, that's a good pick. I appreciate that.
I think too, like the last game, I don't know if it was total head-to-head or if it was playoff head-to-head, but I think Manning has Brady by 1 game or something in their head-to-head matchup. So
that's insane.
I don't know how you can say it wasn't a rival because it was always a pretty hype one.
I just remember when I was in middle school and you were in elementary school, I can still picture the snow falling at Gillette in
Yeah.
Foxborough, Ty Law picking off another one. And
Yeah.
if you want to do a list of most hated players, Scotty, we'll put Ty Law and Willie McGinnis at 1 and 2. We'll start that now.
Man, Ty Law, he was the man. He was the
No,
man.
I respect them too much, but just there's still that
Yeah.
what could have been. Strong pick, man. My number 3 for you is a teammate, former teammate of one of your picks. Going back to the defense, I mean, this guy could just do it all. I think even though, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, I still think he's a little underappreciated on the all-time greats. Maybe I'm wrong there, but Ed Reed from the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, another guy that played forever too.
Played forever. When he came to the Houston Texans, I was glad he was as old as he was because I didn't want to have to face him twice a year in that AFC South. But just a cool dude. Like just the way he would snag the ball and just start running with it. It's just one of the smoothest in the backfield, man.
Yeah, he had that swagger too. You know, he was out there having a good time with it for sure.
Well, you don't go to Miami. You're not on that 0-1 Hurricanes team without having some swag.
I think that was like the first rule. If you're going to be on the team, you have to have swagger to be on the U. That's still, I think, the best 30 for 30 that has happened.
Oh, absolutely.
That was pretty amazing to watch. Pretty wild to see everything that went down with that.
So I'm trying to guess what your next 2 are. I mean, I have a really good guess at what number 1 is, but we've got Randy Moss, we've got Ray Lewis, we've got Peyton Manning. I mean, we're talking pillars of the late 90s, mid 2000s. Who do you got at number 2?
Yeah, you know, this was a guy that I didn't get to see as much of his career, just a little, kind of while I was growing up. But I just think you have to give him the respect of being 1 or 2. I mean, 1,000,000% top 5. But Jerry Rice, I mean, just the wide receiver of all wide receivers. He is the bar, and it's set there, and nobody has gotten close to old Jerry Rice, I think, since he's been out there. So still has the, I think, all-time receiving yards and only guy, I think, with over 20,000. And he's got like 23, something like that. So it's like he's beating everybody by a long shot. So.
I mean, never say never because the NFL is so pass happy right now and so pass heavy the offenses, but it just still seems like his numbers are just never going to get reached. They're insane. Like even Fitzgerald, who's had a really productive career and played forever in the current NFL, still not even knocking on the door of what Jerry Rice did.
Pretty amazing when you really look at his numbers. I was kind of getting ready for this, and when I saw that, I knew it, but I was still kind of like, whoa, you know, it's pretty amazing what he did.
Yeah. You know, I thought about that and here's what would have been my pick for you, because Jerry Rice, I thought, because I can watch those old videos like the NFL Network when they play old games and stuff, Montana to Rice and all those, like the classic matchups back in the day. I can watch that forever, but I couldn't pick stuff that I didn't watch live. Like for me, Reggie White would have made my top 5 because when the minister of defense for those Eagles teams, and then he came to Green Bay again, I'm a Packers fan. He just a bad dude. Sadly passed away in 2004, but yeah, he was huge. Man, strong list so far. My number 2 for you may not get the Hall of Fame like our others that we've listed so far, but he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of favorite NFL players of all time. And that is beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, dude.
Wow. I mean, he should get in the Hall of Fame alone for the Beastquake, you know?
I think so too.
That is probably the most iconic run in NFL history. Everybody remembers that play.
Like you got an NFL stadium to register on the Richter scale, like an earthquake was happening. Like that should be your first ballot in. You're right. But just a fun guy, you know, like it wasn't even necessarily the production on the field, even though when he wanted to be, he was just an unstoppable runner. You know, his first few years at the Bills, and then we went to the Seahawks, was great there. Obviously won the championship when they did. But like you would see old Vines, like when Vine was a thing, you'd see old videos like when he was at Cal in college, he would take the golf cart and run it around all over the field doing his thing. Yeah, play. There was like a video that came out on Twitter I saw recently where he was a rookie and they just let him run roughshod over an Applebee's because he loved Applebee's so much. So he'd get to go behind the counter and pour his own drinks. They're like, yeah, they love me here. He's just the coolest dude ever.
That's amazing. Only he could get away with that too, because he just got that personality everybody loves.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
really, he should have had another Super Bowl winning run to add to his resume. I mean, as a Patriots fan, that they should have won that game. I remember. Well, go ahead.
If we're going to talk about what ifs, man, you're right. That is
Oh,
up there. What could have happened if they run there instead of throw?
man, I mean, me and my dad ended up getting to go to that game, and we're sitting there in that corner of the end zone over there, and we've got our head in our hands because Curse had made that ridiculous catch where it hit his shoe and
Yeah.
bounced up, and then he caught it. And then they're like right there, and they're going to win the game. And we're thinking back to, David Tyree catching the ball on his helmet. And we're like, it's happening again. And then they throw the ball on the 1 yard line. I mean, that was, I still can't believe that, but we were freaking out.
I cannot believe you were there for that. That's amazing, dude.
Oh, it was bananas. And they always have there's one side of the stadium with Seahawks fans, the other side was Patriots fans. That's just how they sold the tickets. So it was like they were going nuts on this side and everybody's quiet over here. And then all of a sudden everything flipped. It was like the weirdest sound to hear how it just flipped like that. But pretty crazy.
That's insane, man. That is so cool. Kids, it pays to be a country star. You get to go do cool things like that and watch the Super Bowl. Well, I have a feeling I know who number one is, and I'm really confused why somebody didn't make your list. But we've got Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, Peyton Manning. We've got Jerry Rice, Scotty McCreery. Who's your number one most favorite NFL player of all time?
I mean, is there a question?
Bat.
The GOAT. I mean, legitimate. Yeah, Tommy Brady. I mean, I tell you what, man, it's pretty tough to dispute his numbers. And besides the numbers, for me, it's the clutch factor. I mean, that game where Marshawn should have had that 1 yard run, they wouldn't have even been in that position without Brady going down with another fourth quarter, late in the game drive to go set up, a game-winning touchdown. And then, I mean, it just seems like he delivered over and over and over again in 6 rings. Got a chance for his 7th coming up here pretty soon. And I'm rooting for him. He's not on my team anymore.
I was gonna. That's what I was gonna ask. I know you're a Pats guy, but have you adopted the Buccaneers for at least 1 week to see what happens?
So I think I'm just still a Tom Brady fan. I'm a Pats fan through and through. I watched him every Sunday, even though it wasn't exactly that pretty this year. Right. But I'm not a Bucs fan. I don't get happy when a certain guy scores a touchdown or the defense gets an interception. I just root for Tom Brady.
But you're rooting for Tommy.
So I'm a Tom. Yeah, I mean, I got him, a fat head of him on my wall at home. Like he's the man. He's the man.
It's insane, man. I don't know if you're a fan of the Herd with Colin Cowherd, but it's one of the daily sports shows that I kind of have on when I'm, in the background when I'm working. And they split his career in half. And he's got 2 Hall of Fame careers. Like if you take half of his career away, he's still the greatest of all time. And that is just bananas to me.
It's, what's so wild to me is, I mean, you split it in half like that, but if you look at his career, the gap from 2005 until, was it 14 or 15, they won the next Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of, to me, surprising they didn't win one in like a 10-year thing there, because they seemed like they were still so dominant. But
well, you can thank those damn Giants for that, because they stole 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, he should have 8 or 9 rings. Like he legitimately should. But
that's insane. Well, I'll tell you my number one, then I've got a question for you where somebody ranks. But again, my top 5 for you, Scotty: Charles Woodson, Brett Favre, Ed Reed, Marshawn Lynch. Yours was number 1. Mine's number 1. He's number 3 on your list. Number 18, the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. I mean, I could do a cop out here and say that number one is a 53-way tie for the 2006 Colts team that won the Super Bowl. Like Marvin and Reggie and Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney. Like I love all those guys, but it starts and stops with the quarterback, Peyton Manning. I mean, just at the right time. I started watching football in like 96 and he was drafted in 98. So real early on, he was, it's kind of like when you're born, you don't think the president's always the president. You don't think it changes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh, Peyton's not my quarterback anymore. Well, what does that mean? Like what happens now?
Yeah.
I think you and I are both extremely lucky to have had those guys to root for. I feel bad for like Cardinals fans. I'm here in Indy, Cincinnati's just down the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough fandom right there, dude.
Yeah, there's no such thing as fair weather fans in those cities because there's just not a lot of fair weather. So
exactly. Well, question for you, and maybe this is one of your honorable mentions. Did you have any honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut?
I had two that were like my favorites. I had one that just I think is underrated, and a lot of it's because he retired so early. That one was Calvin Johnson, Megatron.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But the thing with me, I kind of go back to NC State here. I went to college at QBU, quarterback U, NC State. Mm-hmm. And he had a catch against NC State. If you haven't seen it, you should go look it up. I mean, he is full sprint across the field. Quarterback throws it from Georgia Tech. I mean, way behind him.
And he's in the middle of the field.
Yes. I mean, it is still probably the most insane catch I've seen. Maybe the OBJ catch, but that was ridiculous. So he's one, and then my other two would be Gronkowski, and who I think is greatest tight end, had the greatest stretch of being a tight end, I think, of all time. Gonzalez is tough to argue. And then Phillip Rivers, quarterback U, the GOAT. He's who
That's who I was wondering if was going to make your list, because the NC State connection, I got to tell you, man, you probably could have been a borderline Colts fan this past season because we had Phillip Rivers, we had Jacoby Brissett, we had Nyheim Hines. I mean, we had all these Wolfpack dudes strutting around the center.
Everybody in Raleigh adopted the Colts this year. That was State fans. I was rooting for the Colts a lot. He went to my high school, so we're buddies, and he broke every record we had in high school. And you're like, man, this kid, he is special. So it's pretty cool to watch him do his thing, and then obviously Phillip. I mean, he is, when you talk about GOATs, to me it's Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers, and Phillip should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, didn't win a Super Bowl, but neither did Dan Marino. I mean, and it's
I completely agree. There's a group that I play trivia with every once in a while, pub trivia, and one of the guys that goes is a Raiders fan. And he's like, oh, Phillip Rivers, nah, overrated. I'm like, you're just showing that you are kind of being a dumb fan, or that you don't really know football, because there's no question that he's a Hall of Famer. Stats be damned. I mean, just the way he plays.
Yeah, well, exactly. But yeah, he's almost kind of got that Favre gunslinger. He couldn't throw it this far. He never could throw it that far, but he just was slinging the rock, man. That was his style, and it was always awesome to watch.
I never thought I would root for Phillip Rivers as a Colts fan, and then lo and behold, here I am rooting him on all season long. But
and another thing about Phillip too, before we go, I would love to see the stats on one possession games lost by a quarter. Like he was in San Diego, it seemed like every year they'd have like 8 or 9 like losses by 2 points. It's like I don't know. It's like what could have been,
I think you're right. I think that list would be heartbreaking for a Chargers fan, because they would lead the pack. I guarantee it.
A long shot. Yeah.
And what's insane is they had a bunch of teams still go like 13-3, 14-2. Like they had some great squads there with Antonio Gates and LT at the beginning of his career. I mean, they were in the thick of it all the time, and they still, for whatever reason, you're right, squeakers, they would lose.
Always just the tightest games. But hey, pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, Scotty, I can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time to do our top 5. Really do appreciate it. I know you got a new song out. I know you're always working on a new project, and there's always new stuff. What can people expect from you coming up this year, and what you've been working on?
Yeah, we're still working away at the album right now, and I've been writing in Nashville all week, so we're just about finished up with it. Yeah, we got the new song out right now, U Time, and it's on the charts, Lord willing, it's gonna keep on rocking. And so we're just having fun. I mean, I'm so ready to get back on the road and everything, but while we got the time at home, we're writing and still making music. So can't wait to play it for everybody.
You're telling me, man, cannot wait for shows to come back. And I've seen you plenty of times. So whenever you come back through, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And I appreciate you taking the time, bro.
Heck yeah, man. I'm down to talk football anytime. So I enjoy it.